Hi everyone, it's Chris and Nick, and as I mentioned in the last video, we were going to do a quick video update. Kind of talking about the partnership between community and Rockland, and excited to share. And for those who don't know, Nick is the CEO of Community, and I'm Chris, the CEO of Rockland. And we just figured we'd take a few minutes and answer some questions for each other. And I don't know, maybe I'll just start out with the obvious one. Nick, why are we entering into this partnership, this merger? What do you think the reasoning is?
Yes, first of all, I have known Chris for a few years now, and it has been like great knowing him and knowing like his character, his track record in the credit union space and outside of the credit union space. So that was one of the major factors because although there's assets and liabilities and balance sheets, in the end, a partnership is about people. And but there are many other reasons on the part of community credit union. For instance, over the years, we know that we have been limited in our ability to serve the members. First of all, our loan limit and our maximum exposure is $2 million. So 20 something years ago, you could do something with $2 million, and now it's you probably cannot do anything other than a residential loan in a nice area. So, but there are many other reasons, like we compete with larger and more sophisticated players because there have been a lot of transactions like this in the marketplace, and as a result, we have to compete with larger budgets in terms of technology or marketing. Um, Other reasons, the costs, increasing costs. For instance, we're paying about $800,000 a year for software, including our core system. And at the same time, like margins are shrinking, and our business has been disrupted by fintech in the last several years, and
Absolutely.
especially after COVID. So it creates these opportunities to combine strengths and create something bigger and better.
No,
So
but
yes,
great
some of
color.
the
Yep.
reasons.
That makes sense. And I guess just, from my vantage point from the Rockland side, there's so many benefits to the partnership as well. I mean, for us, selfishly, our members' ability to transact, on the North Shore, we're essentially a South Shore institution and just kind of stepping out of our shell. We recently did an office in Lowell, but that's very new, as in the past 2 months. And this partnership would allow our members to have access to your branches as well. So in addition to our existing members, the idea of bringing on new members in those markets, so that it's a huge advantage. But honestly, as Nick said, we've known each other for a number of years now. I really just, Nick has said so many words of wisdom that have stuck with me, and they've really kind of like, I don't know, like I've admired them. And one on a more practical level though, we had a small Rockland team that came to visit a few months back. It's probably 6 months now, and they visited. And we were having a community event, and honestly, I think all of us, but specifically myself, were just blown away. Like we went to the community event. We were only there for maybe the first hour and a half, and we walked out, and we all went in the parking lot. And we all went, wow, like that is what a cooperative credit union is all about. That's really our mission. So, for me, I spent the whole ride home thinking we have a lot to learn from this organization, from Community Credit Union, from Nick, from the team, from everyone over there. So, there's a lot of things that are in our new strategic plan a few years now that you're already living it. And so, in addition to the positives, the efficiency, the branches and all that, I think culturally really drawn to be more like Community Credit Union. So very, very excited.
I will agree with you, Chris, and the compatibility of values, it's very important because values are like enduring principles that are non-negotiable. They test the test of time. They stand the test of time, and it's what determines who we are at the core, like our DNA, our culture. And when you see those being compatible, that's a recipe for success. And that's why, on behalf of um, all of us on the management team at the Community Credit Union, like we're all unanimously excited for this opportunity.
That's great. Well, I know our folks are as well. And for me, I guess maybe a second question, what do you think will change or not change as part of, the marriage between the two organizations? I mean, we want to learn from each other. We want to get the benefits. And, I'm sure there's, whether it's administrative things or other things, what do you think is like cornerstone that won't change? And anything that you think that might change for the good?
Yes, there's always adjustments. Like we're adjusting into a larger credit union, and the larger you are, the more specialized you are, and your processes are more detailed, more defined. The smaller you are, the more multitasking you have
True.
to do. So there is that type of adjustment. Now, on the other hand, you convert into correlations. That is a big upgrade for us also, because we have outgrown the capabilities of our system, and also having like our footprint on the marketplace, marketing wise, to be more seen, more recognized, and our members to have access to much better technology, larger loans, especially us being a credit union of immigrants. Many of our members have started their own businesses, and at some point they want to invest in real estate. So our limits are very restricting. That's not going to be the case anymore. So I see a lot of opportunities, and also an upside for our staff, that now they're not an organization that more static and they have maxed out their potential, but now in a larger growing organization where, instead of talking about splitting a pie, we're enlarging a pie. So there is more opportunity for everyone. And that's exciting for us.
Yes. It's to kind of dovetail into what you're saying. I mean, for us, or for me, Rockland, I feel like it's still new to me, but I've been here 2 years now, so I guess it's technically not new. But we're going through lots of change, and I think this partnership is just another big step of that change. You mentioned the core conversion. We're going, and you're doing the same. Doing the charter to multi-common bond, which is a significant item. We have a bunch of facilities change. I mentioned Lowell already, but we have our Rockland space is moving down the street to a physically where a Burger King once sat, and we have this new space here in Canton as well. So we have a lot of physical change, and then of course we're going through a name change. So we haven't even finalized that decision in terms of what that end name is, but we're in the final phases of that. There are 5 official finalists, and they're going through trademarking and legal review and member like marketing tests on how they react to that. And I think certainly by the time the two organizations legally come together, that name will be already decided, and we'll be looking to start kind of aggressively promoting that. So but one of the things that and I said this with the team the other day, I kind of scratched my head, and we've been playing defense for 2 years, and what I mean by that is we're focusing on strengthening our systems, our processes, our building teams, all these things internal, and we really haven't focused at all external. But despite only playing defense, we've still grown about $1 billion, or excuse me, $500 million in assets. So I'm thinking, okay, that's about 10% growth a year thereabouts. And to think, okay, if we did that without even really playing any offensive game, way to look to 2026, and the two organizations come together, and then we look to kind of actually play offense. I watch out. I think there's be some huge opportunity. Um, the other things though, for me, As I said earlier, I think, becoming more like community, we have so much to learn. And I see us taking a lot of like, lessons learned, community events even, and bringing those back to our communities as well. So we can kind of replicate, maybe get some synergy out of them. I think, we had, on the defensive side, we really focused on, again, systems, processes, people, that kind of thing. But offense, one of the things I'm most excited about is really focusing on member value. And I think we have really strong member value today. I'm confident your organization does as well. But let's have a small team internally that focus on what additional benefits can we offer. So I'm not even sure if you guys, I don't think you do shared branching,
We
but
don't. No.
we don't either. But as soon as this core conversion's over, that's one of the first projects that we're going to kick in place. Early direct deposit, I think is another great one. I don't know if you guys do that today, but we don't. But we will do that. So that's a great impact for members just getting paid a couple days early. It's in like an interest-free loan almost, which is wonderful. And so many other things. So, I think as the organizations kind of come together, this, mutual benefit. But on the other side of it, what wouldn't change, at least in my eyes, I mean, we're really excited to have the 3 additional branches as part of the family. 100% committed to those branches and those facilities. I only see us growing them, in terms of what we can do through those. So, I think, that is there. Rockland historically has been a very kind of late to the game, in terms of like remote and hybrid. So we continue to, like, every month or so, we seem to be taking another positive step forward. And I have no doubt, at least post conversion, that'll be even more so. There are oftentimes like questions about like, well, am I going to have to commute to Canton or that kind of thing? And I would be very surprised in most cases, that we should be able to do it from different facilities. There could be a rare exception on something like maybe like a teller position, for example. If you took a job at a certain branch, yeah, I think you'd probably physically have to go there. But without, with those exceptions, I don't see any real big changes at all in that regard. So
Yes, I agree. And I think that for every issue, there are multiple possible solutions. And in our case, we have more opportunities than we have issues. So it's important to maintain a growth mindset, not a fixed mindset. And we're always talking internally like that we're more afraid of the status quo than we are of change, although we know that the change always brings some discomfort.
true.
But change is great because we're growing as a team, as a company, we're growing as individuals also.
I couldn't agree more, and I love that. I really do, and that's kind of in that theme of what I was talking about earlier about hearing you say some things over the years, and those really sticking to me. And I'm going to paraphrase, but I remember you talking. We've talked about this before, that you've always looked forward to going to work every single day, and again, that's so much I've admired that, and I can't honestly say that has always been the case for me. I've had some tough days, and I go, oh boy, do I really have to do this? But I've, even since I've heard it, I've taken very, very positive steps forward to grow and say, okay, despite the challenges, I should be really embracing this. And I can't say I'm there yet, but I'm much closer than I was, and I feel confident I'm going to get there someday. So thank you, Nick. It was
Of
I think
course.
that's 3 or 4 years back now, actually. I think so. Um,
And being part of this credit union movement, it's amazing. We live a life of purpose.
yeah,
We don't serve Wall Street.
very
We have
true.
much more. We serve communities, people. Like,
Yeah, and then it makes a huge difference. Much like yourself, and I've worked in the banking world as well, and that cooperative values, that credit union industry makes all the difference. It's the purpose as you described, and not to be focused on stock price or optimizing earnings or anything like that. It's just it's really cool.
absolutely.
Is there any other questions I can answer for you? Is there, anything that your team you think would be interested or you'd want our team to know about?
We have met in multiple occasions now, and we've gotten to start knowing each other. So that has always been like a pleasure. There was we all of our interactions were like full of positivity and optimism and joy. So that's the most important thing.
Agree.
Looking at
Yeah,
our future together.
agree. Um, for me, I just, I want your folks to know, and I think our folks know, in addition to purpose, we spend a lot of time at work, and the idea that we're also having a little bit of fun. Um, sometimes our fun is, big things. We rented out the New England Aquarium and did an event at the 3 billion mark to have everyone come in, and it was kind of a dress up occasion, formal dinner, shut down the whole place, and it was a lot of fun. But honestly, like yesterday we did hat day, and everyone wore their own hat, and sometimes something as simple as a hat day can bring even more joy and more fun in just such a simple informal way. So hopefully your folks are really looking forward to that, and I don't know if you do all that kind of stuff as well, but both the formal big things but also the informal just silly things. To me it brings a little smile to my face seeing all the pictures that were floating around throughout the credit union yesterday.
We love that also.
Awesome. Um, anything else you'd like to say, like to share with everyone, or
I just want to say it was such a pleasure to visit your Canton office grand opening, and many of us were there, and to see all of your smiling faces. And we need more smiles, more friendship, more positivity, and looking forward to the future.
same here. We get the keys to upstairs on Tuesday, so then we can start kind of setting up things down there, up there rather. But thank you, and I was so excited to have yourself and your team, a number of people come. I mean that's a big commitment to come all the way down on the evening and take part. So thank you, so much for that. Um, in terms of like the future, I think there's a huge amount of things to be done, but at the same time, there's just a huge amount of opportunity. We have I don't know the exact number, but I know right now it's well over 20 positions open. So my hope is, your team, has some interest in that. And you and I have talked about, my personal goal is by time, things are legal in terms of a merger that we're already, unrecognizable. Like the two organizations are just working together and doing things together already. And we're like, oh, okay, oh yeah, we forgot to put the wedding ring on. We, now we're married, but we were kind of already committed to each other and doing everything before it happened. So, excited. I do think we're probably going to have some celebrations after the core conversion, after the name change. So I look forward to for you and your whole team to take part in that. And we haven't quite figured out what that's going to be yet, but we're working on it. So
We would love to. And
awesome.
thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Nick. And I am going to see if I can figure out how to push the button to stop the recording. I think I did.